And we find a lot of our clients through leases. Strangely enough, we'll have clients that have leased a property and they don't want to buy right now, but then they figure out after a while their interest rate is actually 100%.
Yeah,
because they're paying their lease every month, but they're not taking any of that back with them when they leave.
Welcome to Real Estate Success Partner. We're your hosts, Devin Dubuque,
David Wynn,
and we're here to talk about how to have great success in every market. And today, guys, talking about success, we got returning guest Clint Ritchie from the Ritchie Mortgage Team. And Ritchie, brother, you brought somebody pretty amazing with you. Who'd you bring along today?
I did. I'm really excited. Thanks, Devin, man. I brought Kevin Slaton with Caldwell Banker, and Kevin is besides being an awesome realtor, he's got a diverse background in several different industries. And so I thought it would be an excellent choice to bring him on board and let him talk to the folks out there, just so that, if you're contemplating being a realtor or a mortgage guy or a title company person, everything that you do in life is going to be aid in that, that skill set. So Kevin Slaton, I appreciate you being on board, man. We've had this one scheduled for a while, man. I'm excited to have you here. Yeah. So, having said all that, so we talked about your diverse background. You were a paramedic. You're a realtor now. You were a paramedic, and you're an all-encompassing engineer. Talk to us about your background and what kind of led you into being a real estate agent.
Well, with real estate, just like with everything else, it's about helping people. I dedicated my life to helping people in the medical field as a paramedic, as a firefighter paramedic for 20 years. Before that, I did software engineering. So again, pretty diverse, a lot of different ends of the spectrum, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it all boils down to helping people. So when I was in the medical field, I was helping people during crisis. And sometimes you think that, when you're buying a house or selling a house, that's kind of a crisis also.
Yeah.
And it's very dynamic. Everything changes very quickly, and you have to think fast on your feet.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I experienced throughout my career as a firefighter paramedic leads into real estate, managing situations that can be very intense and trying to calm everybody down, because if I am wrapped up around the axle, so is my client.
We call it controlled chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I've spent 20 years with the fire service and dabbled in, the software engineering thing for a while. And then when I left the fire department, I worked for one of the major hospitals here in the Metroplex, which you've actually visited.
Yeah, we had a conversation about that in the green room. Yep.
And I worked there for
great institution, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved it. Worked in the OR for a while there. It was a heart hospital. Put that plug in there.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when I left them, I'd already got my real estate license because my wife told me that I needed to stop talking when I was helping her out at open houses. She says, if you're going to talk, you're going to have to get your license. So I said, okay. I took the challenge. So I went and got my license.
And you brought your wife here today, too.
I certainly did.
Yeah, we might have to get her on camera.
Okay. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe should we squeeze in another chair?
Please do. Absolutely.
Would you like to join us today?
Oh, come on.
Stop getting the no. That's another podcast for another
Hey, we
day.
can always use a beautiful face.
That's right.
She's the brain of the operations.
Yeah.
So she got into real estate first, and then she told me that I need to go and get my license. So I did. Awesome. And so we're actually a really good team because she is a very people person, even though she's not wanting to come in and visit with us today. But she is a very people person.
We'll get her on camera.
Yeah. Very people person. And she loves being a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be a listing agent, but I'll do both.
Right.
So she brought me into the real estate business, because I would, keep my mouth shut. So I left the hospital, and she's like, well, no need in going straight home. Just go ahead and come up to the office.
I love it. I love it. Congratulations. Here's your new career.
Yeah, no break, just straight into it. And we've done very well ever since. We've doubled our business every year. I think you might have noticed that.
We did.
And
It's called Real Estate Success Partner for a reason.
we're trying to be successful, but I think
you are being successful.
our biggest success is the fact that we have focused on trying to help people. And we're helping people in all aspects of real estate. It's not just buying or selling homes. We also help people with leases.
Yeah.
And we find a lot of our clients through leases. Strangely enough, we'll have clients that have leased a property and they don't want to buy right now, but then they figure out after a while their interest rate is actually 100%.
Yeah.
Because they're paying their lease every month, but they're not taking any of that back with them when they leave. And so this year we've got 3 clients that said, you know what, we're ready to pull the trigger. Even with interest rates the way they are today, they understand that it's not that bad.
Well, we talk about it. We call it the cost of waiting. And a lot of folks they get mesmerized by interest rates, and they go, "But the rates should be in the 2s, right?" And we all know those has been in the industry. That was fantasy land. It's not going to happen again. We were blessed to see it, right?
Yes.
But it also, it upset the market. Now it's got people with this false hope and this false belief that a 6% or 7% interest rate is a high rate. When I got into the industry 24 years ago, 6.5 was a refinance boom, right? Everybody was super excited that rates were in the 6s, and man, we couldn't shake business off of the stick. Now you're at a 6.5, and you got a lot of people that are paralyzed.
Yeah.
Oh, but this isn't a great time to buy homes, right? But the one thing that we know, and I talk about it on a lot of podcasts, and I think it's important to do that, is that with the housing market, what you're missing the boat on is the appreciation aspect of it, right? Homes appreciate on average 3 to 5% a year. In fact, if you look just last month, year over year, it was a 6.6% increase in value across the United States. The month before that, it was a 7.9. What does that mean? That means people that got in and bought a home a year ago have seen about, on average, a 6.6% increase in the home value of the property they're purchasing. You just nailed it. You said, hey, when you're leasing, it's 100% interest. It's 1,000% interest, right? You don't gain any equity when you're leasing, but the person who you're leasing that property from, well, they do pretty well, right?
Absolutely.
There's a reason why they own those properties. It's because they know that property is going to gain in value, and when they've got somebody else in there, they're going to pay for them to gain interest and gain equity, right? And that's what it's all about. So, at the end of the day, I love that you said, hey, we're helping people with leases because lease is a means to an end. Hey, we're going to help you get in here now, but we're going to educate you and help guide you to real estate investment, right? Because ultimately, this is how you're going to gain financial wealth.
Right, exactly. Right? And building those relationships with our clients, keeping in touch with them. I can't tell you how many times, as a real estate agent, I don't see it as a once and done.
Yeah.
We help our clients throughout the year. We keep in contact with them. We talk with them. We explain different aspects of home ownership with them, help them when their taxes are due.
That's right.
And when if they want to go in and say, hey, you know what, I think I'm paying too much tax on this house. What can I do in order to lower my tax?
That's right.
So we help them. We guide them to show what the house could potentially be worth by giving them some advice on that. We're not allowed to actually go down with them anymore like we used to be able to do.
Right.
But we can still give them advice, and we
That's
continue to do that.
Well, I think what you're describing is it's relational, not transactional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And for the successful agents that we've met, and we've met an awful lot of them, it's relational, right? And why is it relational? Because it's not a one-time transaction. Like you said, it's not a one and done, right?
Right.
You want to help them, you want to help their friends, you want to help their family, and you want to be there when their siblings grow up and want to get into it.
It sounds like a common theme, and all the podcasts we've done together, it seems like a common theme. It's like the successful agents build a relationship, and they become the trusted real estate advisor on all aspects, right? Not just buying a house or selling a house. It's taxes, insurance, homestead exemptions, investment properties. Hey, can you help me, my cousin or my young son or daughter who's trying to put together a plan to buy a house? Can you help me with that? And so, it's good because everyone in any aspect of life wants that go-to person, right?
That's right.
If I need an answer, I can know who I can.
I know
go
a guy.
to. I know a guy, right?
Or I know a gal.
And so
right?
so the Slaton Team is that go-to trusted real estate advisor for all your clients. Does that sound fairly accurate?
It does, and that's what we're trying to foster. And
you're not trying. You've done it.
I hate to say that we're done because just
No,
like
we're
with
never
everything
done.
else.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're never done.
Yeah.
We continue to learn. And a lot of that I have to attribute back to my father. He was actually a physician, but he was very versatile in things that he did.
Yeah.
Even though he was a physician, and once because you get to that point in your life, you're thinking, okay, we're done. We don't have to do any more education. We're coasting along.
Yeah.
He took college classes all the way up until after he retired.
Yeah.
And he had, he was as diverse as me, if not more, in a lot of things that he did. And so I tried to, pattern myself after that. Every day I am in real estate, I learn something new.
Yeah.
Every single transaction has its quirks, and I learn something new. And sometimes I figure out that, hey, I'm doing this wrong, and I need to adjust it.
Yeah.
And when I make that adjustment, that helps my next client. And it helps all of my past clients because I don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, we learn more from our mistakes than our victories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's going back to the 1%, give 1% better every single day, right?
That's it. Yeah, just a little bit better.
Yep. If you don't learn something new every day, you're not doing it right. And if you don't make mistakes, you're not trying.
But I love, Kevin, you're also humble enough to know, hey, it's okay that I make a mistake, and I can admit to that. But as long as I'm doing what it takes to get better and learn from it, right?
That's the plan.
Yeah. But some people don't have that ability to take the humble stance and say, no, I'm always right.
No, I'm never always right.
No, but that's great. And I think, you mentioned, your father and, his continuous strive to find, higher education, right? And that's part of what you do as well. You saw that in your original mentor, right, your father, and you said, we can always learn, right? We can always, it doesn't matter how long we've been in the industry, how long we've been doing the things that we're doing, there's always something I can get better at. And if I can take that and I can make myself better and help another person because of that, right, then we're doing our fiduciary duty in this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So hey, Kevin, you are doing quite a bit of production out there. So our audience always asks, where do you get your leads?
Where do we get our leads? So our leads come from past clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do get some leads from different property management companies. We actually have, they're kind of a sister company to us. It was a company that was, it was a brother and sister. So the sister, I'm actually working with her. She's our broker. Her brother had a property management company, and they would send leads over to us. I also fostered a relationship with the property management company over in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
That reached out to me because they said, hey, you do a lot of leases. And we have a lot of leases over in Dallas area,
Right.
but we don't want to drive over there.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we'll just go ahead and send them over. So they started sending me all of those leases. I converted a couple of those over to purchases. So that's been really nice. And I actually brought in, we brought in an additional person to help us with those leases because we were getting covered up. We had so much. And so I am trying to foster her growth with these leases as well. And she's keeping very busy, and her business is really starting to take off as well. This last year, I actually put together my own CRM website.
We talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this in the pre-podcast.
I'm very techie.
Yeah.
I have the background in computer software and CRMs because I actually used to install CRMs when we first got married, shortly after we got married. And so I understand how those systems are put together and how they work. And I engineered automation and re-engineered a lot of processes for companies.
That's fantastic.
So I utilized that aspect in our own business to build our platform. And so now it's almost an end-to-end, what they used to call cradle to grave software platform where a lead will come in through either an ad or a friend will say, hey, you need to hook up with the Slatons and they'll help you find a lease property or a property they want to sell or buy. Come out to our website, they log in or they'll fill out an application to get an appointment with us, and then it kicks off a whole slew of processes that gets them in our queue.
I love it.
set appointments with them, keep up with them, send them emails, text messages, a lot like what Clint does for me.
Let's say, does this sound familiar at all, guys?
I'm like,
I might know a guy that built a CRM system.
Yeah,
that
I get
does
these
the
text
same
messages. I
thing.
said, "Oh, Clint's busy."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, he's not. He's using
Hey, but speaking of, Kev, have you used the landing page that we've got for Clint yet? Have you had a chance to
I
experience that?
have not.
Yeah.
And,
You should
I
give it
need
a
to do
shot.
that.
It's pretty
Yeah.
slick. So, you talk about automations, and I love that, because I see you're pulling at my heartstrings when you start talking about the tech side of the business, right? But we've got a feature within ours where when one of our agents, or even just a consumer, wants to go in and fill out the quick intake form, literally the moment that you push the button to submit it in, the client's already got a text message. They've already got an email.
That's awesome.
And in addition to that, they've also got a task for Mr. Ritchie here to make a phone call to pick up and actually do an immediate outreach. And we're even starting to add in some of these automations, for the podcast scheduling, right? We talk about getting people here on the podcast, where my assistant who does the scheduling, now the initial phone call, whether you know it or not, is automated voicemail. So effectively, the moment that we transition somebody into the pre-podcast to get them set up for the show, it's literally getting a text message, an email, and a voicemail drop saying, "Hey, we're here to get you scheduled for this." Or if you'd like to self-schedule, you can click right here on the calendar. And if they click on the calendar and self-schedule, it automatically moves them from one pipeline to the next pipeline without us having to do anything.
That's
right?
awesome.
So,
I love that.
yeah. So automations, right? It's effective because, what's really funny is Dave had one of these the other day, and the agent, he said, "Hey, I'm going to drop you over and have Jennifer reach out to you." And they were still on the call, and she said, "Oh, she's already reaching out." Right? Because in the eyes of the consumer or, the agent in this situation, the email says, "Hey, it's Jennifer with Click and Close Mortgage reaching out to you to get you on the podcast," right? That it looks like it comes from Jennifer, right? And it did, because in theory, Jennifer wrote the campaign, right, to go out and do the things that it does. But, that's how we are with automation. And, the fact that you're utilizing that in your real estate business, I know that it's not the reason that you're successful. It's just another reason why you're as successful as you are, because it helps with all the heavy lifting. You also mentioned something about recently hiring somebody to help with the leases. Again, that's so smart, because a lot of people say, "No, I can do it all myself. Nobody can do it as good as me. It's got to be me. It's got to be me. It's got to be me." But we're limited to our bandwidth.
Right, exactly.
And perhaps it's your tech background that gives you that ability to go, "No, we got to hire somebody else because we need to be able to serve more people. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to hire this individual and get them in here to take over this piece so we can continue to do the things that we need to do."
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Delegation.
That's it.
Yeah, I want to. Dave talks about this all the time, and he constantly reminds me, because I'm not as good at this as I probably should be. But with the campaigns that we've set up, here and you've set up, we're in an instant gratification society, man, and speed to lead is I think that's
Crucial.
I think that's an undervalued topic. I mean, because
Right.
and so it's awesome that you recognize that, and more importantly, you have the capabilities and the expertise to build that out within your system. So I think that's going to push you guys even farther, quicker than the realtors that you're competing with in the industry, man. And that's probably why you're so successful. So congratulations to you on that. And man, I look forward to seeing how that takes your business, up and up. So
Well, there's a saying. I think there's a stat that says that 75% of all consumers go with the first person that they talk to.
Yeah.
So
I think I've read that before.
So it's if you're the first realtor, they typically talk to two or three. You have a 75% chance if you're first. If you're whatever business it is, you have.
I think that was the MIT study, wasn't it, Dave? Didn't you send it to
like
me?
I said, it's just the first person to make contact is typically who gets it.
That's it. Well, and you go back to that, and it's not necessarily the automation that gets the business. The automation helps you get the initial phone call, right? The business is still, it's you and your lovely wife, right, that are going out and actually building the relationships and the connections. But when utilizing automation and also having the ability to be, great at what you do and care and passionate about the people that you're serving, it's a combination of those things that makes great agents like yourself. And
like I said, it's the initial contact of actually talking with them and letting them get a feel for who we are. I can't tell you how many times we have had clients that we met with and talked with them and then get phone calls later saying, we met with some other realtors and we just didn't get that warm and fuzzy like we got with you guys. And we really want to do business with you because we feel comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And we put that out there. We let people know who we are and what we can do for them. And like on the automations, one of the things that I did just recently is there's some forms that the state requires us to give out. can tell you right now that about 95% of the realtors out there don't provide that initial document that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There's people out there like that just sets that up, like the do not call list. I've heard of people just waiting to bait people so they can sue them on the do not call list.
Yeah.
And with the new legislation, I guarantee there's people out there just waiting.
Yep, absolutely. So one of the things that we do is the first appointment that we set with our clients, immediately within 30 seconds, they get a text message saying, "Hey, be on the lookout for this form. It's a state requirement.
Yeah.
Please initial it to say that you've received it."
That's great.
And I've talked to so many agents that said, "Oh, they're never going to do that. They're never going to do that." I can tell you right now that 85% of the clients that we come in contact with sign it within the first hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say, "Yep, I received this information about brokered services."
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, well, point proven. We go back and talk automations, and I won't dive too much into this because nobody wants to get bored with AI, right? But we're really starting to bring AI into our business. And I was on a segment this morning. You talk about continuously trying to improve yourself and educate yourself, and they were talking about the newest feature that ChatGPT rolled out, where you can now talk to it, right? Mm-hmm. And we know there's a lot of things that are happening here, but this one was pretty simple. It's built right into ChatGPT, and you just click on the button, you have a conversation with AI. So I had a conversation with my AI this morning, and
how'd that go, Doug?
it went great, actually. So I introduced myself, and I asked for her name because she has a female voice, and she said, "I don't have a name." And I said, "Well, can we give you a name?" She said, "Well, we certainly can." I said, "Well, what would you like your name to be?" And she said, "Well, why don't you name me?" And I said, "Well, let's do this." I said, "My wife's name is Darian, my mother's name was Debbie, my daughter's names are Theodora and Mackenzie, and I'm looking for somebody that can help me make great decisions within my business." I was like, "What would you like your name to be?" And she said, "Well, based upon your wife's name of Darian and your mother's name of Debbie, I think a strong, powerful name would be Dara." And I said, "Great, let's call you Dara." And so we had a great conversation. In fact, I talked to her for about 10 minutes, and I shoot a motivational series called Mind Shook, and I wanted to do a motivational today. And I said, "Hey, help me come up with a good motivational for my channel, for Mind Shook," because we talked a little bit about it. And she said, "Well, why don't we today talk about resilience?" And I said, "I love it. Let's do that. Write it for me." And she did. And I didn't love the first draft. So I said, "Hey, let me tell you a little story about myself. And can you, and then rewrite it based on that." And she did. And it was fantastic. And for those of you guys who watch Mind Shook, you'll hear that motivational coming out later this week. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So that's where we are with AI. But the reason I mentioned that is now you get to another point. Now you can actually start to have AI that's actually communicating back when people respond to text and emails. And that's where we're taking that. We intend to have that rolled out by the end of this year. And it's not to avoid the ability to communicate with Mr. Clint Ritchie. It's just so that he can help more families. And we stop the AI once the appointment gets booked, right? It's not going to have those conversations throughout the entire loan process. It's just to help get that client to the point where they answer the questions they need to have answered so that they can have that confidence that, yes, I want to talk to Clint and get on the phone with him. And then Clint's going to take over, and then they'll talk to a real person.
The real brains behind the operation.
Or will they? No.
No, it's just, it goes back to that whole bandwidth thing, right? It's
Yeah,
like you
that's
said,
it.
bandwidth, the more you can aid in, keeping your bandwidth is going, and you can help more people and be more efficient. And
That's right.
Be more thorough. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is. So, well, let's talk about what we came to talk here about today, which is Kevin and your amazing real estate business, and you and your wife. And again, what was your wife's name, Kevin? Let's get
Eva.
her.
Her name is Eva
Slaton. Yeah,
The
It sounds
boss lady.
Yeah, she's been doing this a little longer than you, right?
She's been doing it a couple of years longer than me. I did.
We're gonna get you on here.
Yeah, she had her license about 2 years, and again, I was going out with her, helping her with the open houses.
Yeah.
Kind of security,
I love it. Yeah, it's important.
Yep.
We're in
And so-
DFW,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would go out with her, and like I said, I wouldn't keep my mouth shut, and I wanted to talk to people. And she's like, "Go get your license." I was like, "Okay." So
That's just because you have a wealth of knowledge, Kevin, with all your life experiences, right?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I keep telling her, and she's like,
And you know what? More importantly, is like when you're competing with clients, man, you're always looking for hot buttons where you can build that relationship, that in where you can get in. And so with your natural history of all the things you've done and your background and your education, man, I'm sure there's all kinds of hot buttons. I mean, it'd be really hard. I know it'd be hard for Dave not to get in there, right, Dave? Dave can talk to a wall, but
I can.
Yeah. So So
And he has. I see him do it.
Yeah. So it's just a natural transition. I can understand why you would constantly be finding connections.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've like I said, not only do I have a diverse background, but I had when I grew up, I had a very fortunate childhood, being that my dad was in the military. He was a flight surgeon.
Okay.
We lived overseas, so I had a lot of experience over in Europe. Traveled all of Europe.
That's awesome.
And then just different cultures that I ran into, different foods, different experiences there. I had some clients earlier this year that they were actually from England, and I was like, oh, I know England. And they're like, how do you know England? I said, well, we go there, a couple times a year. Germany, we skied in Germany, Swiss Alps.
That's awesome.
Talked with a client this morning that was in college down at Texas A&M, and her mom actually went to high school that my wife went to, and probably knew each other. And they're like, huh.
Small world.
Exactly. Very
No, you know
small.
what it is. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, the world is extremely
It's a
small.
higher power. You're supposed to connect with that person.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
So, and you make those connections, in every day. It's amazing, and when you have all those life experiences, and you can convey that over to a potential client that later, instead of being a client, they're actually a friend.
That's right. Yeah.
We're not just building relationship with clients; we're building relationship with friends and extended families.
So important.
Fire department is the same thing.
Yeah.
I have clients that are firemen in neighboring cities. They're like, oh, you're a fireman. So immediately we make that connection, and there you go.
Well, and we talked about this earlier too. You were also ENT, and effectively, you had to deal with people who were in crisis scenarios all the time. And the one thing that I know, unfortunately from personal experiences, typically when you're in those situations, the guys and gals that are there to help serve, right? You guys do a tremendous job of helping calm the patient or the individual and help them through some of their most difficult times, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely, yeah.
I can only imagine how that translates into helping people with one of their biggest financial decisions, which is their mortgage, right?
Yep.
And being able to help keep them calm, or that controlled chaos that we talked about before, throughout that loan process. And Dave and Clint and I have always talked about it before, but we look at every mortgage or real estate transaction as a puzzle. And, when you have these large puzzles, right, the consumer, if we're doing it right, to them it's just a 8 to 10 piece puzzle, and they're snapping in those big pieces like the children's puzzle. But in the background, you've got Clint, you've got Kevin, you've got Eva, right, who are running around doing all the heavy lifting to make this look like such a simplified transaction. And that's not what it is. It's a big transaction. There's a ton of stuff going on, but when you're doing it right, the consumer never sees that.
Exactly. Yeah, you make a really good point. And when you talk about heavy lifting, I would say that the heavy lifting is really done on the very far back end, which is the loans. They have no idea what all is going on and all of the mechanisms that are rolling in order to get that loan to happen. Just like title, all the things that they do.
That's right.
I'm more of a front person that that stands in front of all that, so they don't see it. I'm an insulator and keeping them calm, and they don't know all the things that are going on in the background. And that's where I appreciate what Clint does, because he makes it look so damn easy, darn easy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because we still get coaching on a regular basis, because we try to do that 1% better every day thing. And one of our coaches, and it blew my mind, because I've been in the industry 24, almost 25 years too. He's like, there's 88 different
You've
things.
been in the industry your whole life.
Yeah, that's true.
Your
That's a
mom
good point.
and your dad.
Yeah, that's a
both.
good point. Yeah. I just didn't know it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
and speaking of being such a close, everything is close to everybody. Your dad taught up at Champions,
Yes,
sir.
where I went to school.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And my wife went to school.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, what I was going to say is it blew my mind, because he said there's 88 different things that can go wrong in a real estate mortgage transaction. And, we just touched on it. The job that we have is to not allow the client to know that any of those 88 things are going
Exist.
on. We're just trying to make it smooth, whatever. And it's like, it's it's almost, they don't have a full appreciation of what realtors and mortgage folks do. They just think we sit back and make all this money and don't.
But that's when you're doing it right.
Don't do anything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's because you're doing it right. So when they think that it's easy,
Yeah.
that means that there's experts
Right.
behind the scenes.
Yeah. So 2 months ago, I had a client call me up and say, "Hey, you know what? I think I want to get into real estate.
Yeah.
And I think I want to try this out." He says, "Where can I go to get schooling? What can I, what all do I need to do?" So I sent this young lady all the information she needed. And last week I get a phone call, and she's like, "This was a lot more than I thought it was." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a lot there, but
There
if
is.
you if you really want to do it and you're really dedicated to helping other
That's it.
people, it's worth it. It is worth all of the education that you go through. It's worth all of the time and energy that you put into it, and it's worth when you build relationships with lenders that you trust to take care of your clients the way that you want to be treated and taken care of."
Talk about being worth it. Dave, come on, man. We got a great question. Let's hit him with it. I want to hear an answer. I want to hear this answer on this one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we know how long you've been in the business, and of all the transactions you've done, what's that one transaction that you did that said, you know what, this is why I'm in the business. This is why I'm in real estate. Because we know there's several, and everybody has several, but
Yeah.
there's always one.
we know
that
it's
stands
about
out.
helping people.
There's always
We already
one
know
that stands
that.
out in your heart that you say, this is why I do what I do.
So I had just got my real estate license. And I was about in the middle of towards the end of my career at the fire department. And I had a young lady come into the office and sat down, and we got to talking. And her and her husband were just starting their family,
Yeah.
and they wanted to buy a house. And so we talked with them and realized that they were actually from a little town that I was a fireman in. And they had an event happen in their family that was extremely tragic. And she realized that I was a paramedic that showed up on scene.
Oh, man, Kevin.
And she broke out in tears and explained who she was.
Yeah.
And it was traumatic on her side, and she was like, "I couldn't tell you then, but I can tell you now that I would not have made it through what happened had it not been for the fire department
Yeah.
and you and the other paramedics that were there to help us through this."
Yeah.
And we affectionately call these our kids, because we've helped them buy a house, sell a house, and buy another house, and their family has now grown to 3 kids.
That's awesome.
And it was during that transaction that it's like, you know what? This is what we want to do, because this is the kind of impact that we want to have on other people.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's your
So-
calling, man. That's your calling.
So,
That might be the best story we've heard yet.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's special. That's special, and maybe help them get past some of the things that they'd been through.
it did help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting to have you as a part of that experience.
Well, I can tell just from the way you talk that you love what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, did you love being a fireman?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So-
Firemen get to tear up stuff.
Yeah. So I say it all the time. When do you retire?
It's hard. It is rough. But after you spend so many hours, on fire scenes and going through fires and getting in attics and almost getting burned up.
Yeah.
But I did spend a lot of time on the ambulance because I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Again, you kind of touched on it. As a paramedic, when you go to someone's house, it is typically at the worst possible time in their life.
Yeah.
And you're there to help them get through that and get them to the care that they need.
That's right.
Sometimes it's happy moments, when they're bringing someone new into the family.
Yeah.
I've delivered a few babies out in the field. Those are the happy moments. But then you also have those moments that are,
Yeah.
that you want to forget about and you don't ever want to think about, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And they still impact you. But then you run into some of these folks later on, and they're like, you know what? Thank God you were there.
Yeah.
And it just makes it all worth it.
Real American hero.
Nah, not even.
See, but that means it's true.
Right, exactly. He's special.
He's too humble to say it.
This is a special guy right here.
Yeah,
man.
I can tell.
So let's talk about being the top realtor out there. So this weekend, you're gonna go eat bonbons, go out to eat, take off all weekend. You and the missus are gonna go on date night.
We're
Friday
showing
night,
houses.
Saturday night.
Yeah, we're showing houses. We're actually having them showing the house in the morning to a client that's out of state. And then around noon, 1 o'clock, we've got more homes we've got to go show.
Well, I bring that up because everybody thinks that we're like movie stars, real estate, business, mortgages, realtors, the top realtors.
Lights, camera, action.
Yeah, it's you know what, weekends in the Bahamas and taking off. What people don't realize is to be a top tier realtor or be a top tier mortgage, you're working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Do you ever turn your phone? I know I can't.
But you said something. You said, kind of like movie stars. Well, maybe we're more like movie stars than people realize, because the reality of the situation is if you see some of the work that some of these movie stars do to get to their role, it's a lot more work than people give them credit for.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you look at guys like, and I know he's got a bad demeanor sometimes from what the public says about him, but like Christian Bale, he's done some of these movies where he's literally lost down to where he's 92 pounds.
Yeah.
And then turned around a couple of months later, and all of a sudden he's ripped up and playing Batman, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that, So, some people look at the rich and famous and go, man, they're just out there living this glorious lifestyle, but those folks work really, really hard too, So maybe it is closer, to the movie star lifestyle than people want to recognize, because there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Some of the agents out there, you have no idea what they went through to get where they are.
That's right.
I know some agents that they were like, you know what, I had like $20 in the bank for a while, and I was just barely scraping by. But they, and I look up to those people, because those are the ones that really dig in and they do the work.
Yeah.
And they understand the hard times, and they understand that when they have successes, it's you celebrate for a few minutes and then you move on.
That's right.
You don't sit there and celebrate all the time. And movie stars are, a lot like that. They have successes and then they move on.
That's right.
Hey, I got one last question for you then.
Yes, sir.
Because we
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to wrap this up. I can keep
I
you
know.
here all day.
I keep you here all day, man, because you're just such an interesting dude. So if you were, looking in the camera and you were talking about someone that, said, hey, Kevin, I want to get into real estate, but I want to be successful like you. What would you advise them to do? Obviously, after they get their license and all that stuff, what would be the one thing that you'd say, if you want to be successful in real estate, here's what you need to do without fail?
Without fail? Man, there is so much that you need to do.
I know that's.
It's not just one.
It's not just one quick fix. It is not a quick fix. There is no one thing that you can do. You have to do a lot of different things. We do open houses almost every weekend. We keep in contact with our past clients. But the biggest thing is to be successful, I think, is to be genuine.
Yeah.
Be there to help people. When you tell someone you're going to help them, you're going to be there and you're going to help them. Can't tell you how many times we've gotten up in attics to help pull things out of attics right before inspections. I've helped clients move.
Yeah.
We had an agent in our office that literally helped a family pack up their stuff, put it in a box truck, drive it to their new home out of state, set things up, and then drive back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Be genuine about what you do. The other thing is fostering good relationships with good partners.
That's right.
You have to have.
You're successful.
And I hate to use the word vendor, because a lot of people say, they have these vendors. They're not just vendors. They're partners.
They need to, if there's a good relationship, they're partners.
Absolutely, yeah, because you're in it together.
That's right.
And Clint makes me look good. We have a client right now that we were having a little bit of a challenge trying to get him, find a home for him. We got the home, and I make a phone call every other day and give him a report. Say, hey, we're doing great.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. This has already been done. This has already been done, and it makes me look really good.
That's important. It's important. Yeah, and that's part of our coaching program, you know. But you go back. You just literally unfolded the entire title to our podcast. Your real estate success partners.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you're in this industry and you're at the top of your game, you have to have great success partners, because if you don't, you're only good at one side of the business.
Right.
You have to be great at all sides of the business, and that's finding the right partners to work with so that you can accomplish the mission and make it as simplified as possible for the homeowner,
Yeah.
right? And that's really what it's all about.
And one other thing I'd like to kind of touch on is that people think that, you know, as real estate agents, you know, we always heard you set your own hours. Set your own hours. So
I'd love to see that clock.
yeah, you can ask my wife what time I get up out of bed
Yeah.
and when I come home. And I probably, I do. I do spend more hours at the office than my wife does. I spend more time because I do take care of a lot of our back end systems.
Right.
But typically, I'm in the office at 5:30 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'll get home. Sometimes it's been as late as 9, 10 o'clock at night. I thought I worked hard as a fireman, you know, working 24 on, 48 off, and then picking up some extra shifts. But I think I probably worked more hours as a real estate agent than even as a software engineer working on you know, projects with big companies. But it's more, I think it's more fulfilling.
It's a labor of love.
Because again, every transaction is different, and I get to watch these transactions unfold, and I try to keep my client insulated from what's going on in the background, and then having partners that keep me insulated. It does make it a lot easier, and we just make it look good.
Well, how about those reactions on closing day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes from.
Absolutely.
You know? Helping, especially the underdogs. You know, the ones that it was going to be hard for them, and you made it happen.
Yep. And that's the thing. We attend every closing. We go to every single closing for our
That's awesome.
clients.
Yeah.
I know there's agents out there like, why do you go to the closing? You don't need to go to the closing. I said, absolutely you do. You need to be there to support them.
Yeah.
Be there with them in one of the happiest times of their life, when they are getting a piece of the American dream.
Yeah.
They're getting a home.
And that's the relationship side. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, we'd love to keep you here all day, and we can't, so we're going to go ahead and get this one closed up. But where all do you operate out of, right? When the folks out there want to do business with you, what markets do you serve?
So we've been primarily in the North Texas area. We have gone over to Fort Worth. We have gone down to Waxahachie.
Yeah.
But we would prefer to be up in the Plano, Richardson, Little Elm. Sold a lot of homes up in the Little Elm area.
Yes, sir.
Frisco. And now with
Prosper, Salina.
yeah, and now with all the builders
I'm
starting
from
to go
Salina,
all
so.
the way up the 75 corridor, all
Yes,
the way
sir.
up into Sherman Denison.
That's right. Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of activity up there as well.
Princeton, Anna, right? There's all kinds of stuff out there. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
first $1 million house was in Anna.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. You think about trying to say that 10 years ago. So, well, that's good stuff. So mainly northern DFW, but if we need to get out there and serve some of those southern markets, you guys are available. Mm-hmm. And how do the folks out there find you when they're looking for?
So they can either find me on Google.
Let's tell the kid. Yeah.
Okay. They can find me on Google. We have a Google business page, theslatonteam.com. You can reach us there. It's pretty easy. You can also go out to the Coldwell Banker Apex website and find us on there as well.
That's perfect. So Kevin Slaton and Eva, right? I got that right? It's Eva? Yeah, and Eva Slaton Team. And if you guys are watching the video, you saw that scroll right across the bottom. And I'm pretty sure they'll find phone numbers, email addresses, pretty much anything you need if you go to the website. And we highly suggest that you do. Here's a team that truly cares, passionate about what they do. And we've got a real American hero here with Kevin Slaton and the Slaton Team. So great having you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
seriously, this has been a pleasure. This has been a really great unpacking, getting to really know you, brother. So you're a great man. Clint.
Yes, sir.
When the folks out there want to find you, brother, how do they find Clint Ritchie and the Ritchie Mortgage Team?
Well, you can always go to therichiemortgageteam.com, or you can reach me on my direct office number, where you can call or text, which is 972-656-0719. That's 656-0719. And I'm going to give you a little plug. You might also be able to find me on the DebuteTeam.com, right?
You might be there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep, checks out. He's there. So, you've got a dynamic duo here with the Slaton team and the Ritchie Mortgage team. These folks will make sure that, you get what you need, and they're going to give you amazing services. You can already tell. I'm pretty sure if you listen to this thing, you can tell these guys really, really care. So, Kevin, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you coming on today.
Well,
Clint, thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
You always find great people, to bring on the show, and success is obviously the name of the title, and I can see why you brought Kevin and his wife here today.
Absolutely.
So, Eva, we're going to get you on here. I'm telling you, it's happening. You just wait. You're next. Dave, anything you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
No, man, if you're looking for real estate, either buy or sell, I'm calling the Slaton team. Plus, you get to hang out with this guy. I'm sure he has a ton of stories for you.
Hey, he's probably not going to plug Clint because he does mortgages too. But hey, guys, we truly appreciate you stopping in. We're your real estate success partners. I'm Devin Dubuque.
I'm David Wynn.
And if you want to find us, come on over to realestatesuccesspartner.com. Again, that's realestatesuccesspartner.com. Now, if you want to watch the video, and we suggest you do, come over to YouTube. Find us at the Dubuque team, as Clint had mentioned earlier. We're also on IG. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. You can come check us out at all those too. We highly suggest coming and watch the video. Please subscribe. Please comment. Let us know what you think of the content. And, if you're out there, you're an agent, you want to be a guest on the show, call me. Until the next time, we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.